All right, we're going to start the meeting now. I'd like to say good evening to everyone. Welcome to the Village Council meeting. It is Thursday, 6:34, March 7th, 2019. If everyone would stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Diane, please let the record show that all members of council are present.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have the wonderful pleasure this evening of opening the meeting with a presentation of 15-year award to Robin Cronk. Robin was hired by the village in February of 2004 as Secretary 1 in the village clerk's office. Robin is the face of the village for the village clerk's office, and truly, when people come into to Village Hall, she's the person they go to. She's the one sitting behind the window there, and all kinds of questions come to her, and she's got to figure out how to respond to that and where to direct them. Robin has excellent customer service skills by always making sure that all visitors are directed in the appropriate way. In addition, she transfers telephone calls to the correct departments and assists in seeking out the answer when no one else has any clue where to go. She has many innovative ideas and goes above and beyond with regard to achieving historical data, archiving historical data, and compiling beautiful photo albums of village events. Her ideas are creative and worthy, and Robin has excellent written and verbal skills that she uses often for us. She is always happy to assist any department and is a good ambassador for the village of Royal Palm Beach. Along with her many duties, though, Robin is in the clerk's office. She is also responsible for continually updating the electronic signs throughout the village. You see the electronic billboards we have? She's the one that makes sure the messages are up there and everything is spelled correctly, and that we're putting the right messages up in a timely manner. Robin, I'd like to thank you for your 15 years of loyal service to the village of Royal Palm Beach, and we ask for at least 15 more. Let's give Robin a hand. Photo op, guys. Remember ever coming into the office and not being greeted by a smile. She has to wear that smile every day, 5 days a week, for all the customers and people, the citizens who come into the building. Thank you.
Can you get her together?
Yeah.
Shift over and back a little bit.
Wow.
I know, we're gonna go here to go. Getting rowdy here. Talk about the face of the village. Okay, now I would like to read a proclamation. In case you didn't know, March is recognized as a bicycle month. And in recognition of that and acknowledging its importance, I'd like to share this proclamation today. Whereas the state of Florida officially recognizes March as Bicycle Month, and whereas residents of and visitors to the Village of Royal Palm Beach enjoy safe, environmentally friendly, alternative methods of transportation that provide access to public and private facilities such as parks, schools, Palm Tran bus stops, and businesses. So in case you didn't know it, non-motorized bikes are considered another form of transportation. And cities across the nation or across the state of Florida are doing what they can to make bicycling more attractive, make it safer and more readily available. And we're trying to do our part here in the village. So whereas the Village of Royal Palm Beach encourages the safe use of bicycles as non-motorized transportation, and whereas the Village of Royal Palm Beach is committed to improving the accessibility, connectivity, and safety of non-motorized transportation throughout the village by constructing and maintaining 55 miles of paved shared use pathways and 38 miles of designated bicycle lanes. And whereas the local recognition of Bicycle Month in the Village of Royal Palm Beach will increase awareness of alternative transportation options throughout the village while promoting the health benefits of bicycling, along with reducing traffic congestion, and ultimately popularize bicycling as a viable and attractive alternative mode of transportation. And now, therefore, on behalf of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, I hereby proclaim March 2019 as Florida Bicycle Month. And I encourage all residents and visitors to safely explore the convenience and benefits of bicycling as an alternative to motorized transportation throughout the village. Signed and sealed the 7th day of March 2019. Now, is Lou supposed to come up and get this? Am I supposed to give this to somebody?
Chris wants to come get it for him.
No Lou.
No Lou. Come on up, Chris. Should we do a photo op with this? Come on.
Okay. All right. You got it last year, so I get it this year.
All right, come on. Listen, we're going to go do the proclamation. We need to memorialize it, and one of the best ways of doing that is to record it. Besides, take a photo of something. No, over this one.
Exactly. Mark 24.
Now, one of you probably was going to cover this in your report. Saturday is what? What's happening Saturday? Are you going to cover it?
Oh, the bicycle
Yeah.
rodeo?
Bike rodeo?
Do you want me to? You can talk about it. Why don't you talk
No,
about it?
I let you guys.
No, you lead the...
You were there last year.
I went last year, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I'll let you...
All I'm going to say to you is if you haven't been riding your bicycle on a regular basis, don't drive your bike to the rodeo. See if you can put it in a car or a truck, because you're going to need your strength to actually do the rodeo. And if you ride your bike there, by the time you get there, you won't have anything left in your legs, unless you ride every day or every week. But it's 9 o'clock this Saturday, Commons Park, right? It should be fun. Yeah, they have 3 different courses: the medium, and the long, and the short, I guess.
Yeah,
So-
and I think 9 is the longest
Gonna
one,
have the mayor's
9:30
course,
is the
that's
medium, and 10 o'clock, 10 is the 3.
I'll go with that. Okay, so anyway, hopefully if you can show up this Saturday, and hopefully we'll have great weather, and it'll be a good, fun day. All right, with that, we're going to go to reports, and I guess we'll start with you.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, good evening, everyone. Attended the League of Cities meeting a week or 2 ago, and the topic for presentation was Census 2020. It's coming, and it's going to be digital, so we're going to be able to do it online. So they're starting the awareness campaign now to prep for the census that actually takes place in 2020. But I've given the village manager all kinds of materials and getting the word out to our residents. So that'll be really important. We want everybody to complete the census.
Digital meaning what? You have to do online?
Online.
On the computer?
Yep.
Wow.
So they're,
So they're not sending they're not sending anything in the mail like they did before?
that's what I understand.
Okay.
And they're going to be using the libraries to assist with people who may not have
People who don't
computers.
have computers? Okay.
And then Selena and I just came back from Palm Beach County Day representing the village of Royal Palm, which was terrific.
Thank you.
Yes, appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a long day. We met with almost,
Just got back?
Immediately.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
we met with almost all of our electeds. And we met with our advocate, Ron Book, who is working on 2 appropriations for us. The first is funding for the all-access playground, which is terrific, and then the dredging project for the canals. And so we stopped by both Representative Wilhite and Senator Powell's office. They're very supportive, and they appreciated us coming by.
Excellent.
So we did a couple other things, but Selena will finish the report.
We divided and conquered.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens in Tallahassee stays in Tallahassee, but, okay. That it?
Just work. Just
Okay.
work. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff.
Oh, good evening. We had our March meeting of the Education Advisory Board this past Monday, and the school that was showcased was Crestwood Middle School, and they kicked it off with some performing arts for us, which was really exceptional for anybody who's ever heard a handbell choir or group. These young folks really knocked it out of the park. I mean, it was an extraordinary performance of a couple of pieces. But what was so extraordinary was they had sounds and rhythms that I'd never heard before with a handbell group like this, and they are so good is that they're actually going to be performing sometime in April, I believe, in the Kravis Center, and they're just remarkable. And one of the things it said to me was that performing arts are alive and well if you use that as kind of an example of what's going on in our school. So Crestwood Middle School is to be saluted for some of the amazing things that they're doing, which is combining arts with science. And of course, they talked a lot about their STEM program. The presentation was done not just by the principal, but also by members of the staff, the teachers, and more impressively, the students themselves. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of passion on both sides, and they brought to us some great examples of the fantastic work that they do at Crestwood Middle School. And of course, Crestwood is really important to us, because within our community, it is really a centerpiece like our high school is. And so they play a very important role in the K through 12 continuum. Speaking of our high school, Principal Armas took the opportunity also to thank everyone for their favorable vote on the tax increase for schools this past November. And he invited anybody who was interested to come and hear his presentation on the 2020 Royal Palm Beach High School budget at the next SAC meeting. That's the School Advisory Committee meeting on March the 28th at 6 o'clock. So it'd be a good way to get a sense of actually where that additional money is going, especially here locally. And he was pretty enthusiastic about it. I mean,
Good.
he really was. So it looks like it's being put to good use. The scholarships. So we're down to 15 finalists. They were selected by the Education Advisory Board from the 32 submissions that we had. And of course, the next step in that process is the interviews, which will take place on Saturday, April the 27th. And then the 10 recipients will actually receive their scholarships here at a council meeting on Thursday, March the 16th. And one thing I wanted to mention was Councilman Valentes gave me some information about an interesting opportunity for teachers to become, I'd say, even more effective in teaching civics. And it's a program called the Florida the Florida Supreme Court Teachers Institute that is actually held in Tallahassee. I think they actually conducted the course in February this year. But I shared the information with the principals, and the levels are middle school and high school. where the teachers are actually able to apply for this program. When they complete the program, they're actually designated as fellows of the Florida Supreme Court Teachers Institute, and they go through some pretty rigorous 5 days. They actually do mock arguments, and they go over the history of the Florida Supreme Court and do some case studies and that type of thing. So it looks like a very, very worthwhile activity. And of course, when they come back with all of this firsthand insight, the idea is that they will act as kind of a cadre and they will teach other teachers about it. And so I thank Rich for sharing that with me. And the real good news is both principals were very enthusiastic about it. And so hopefully we'll hear about some of our teachers attending that next year.
That's interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good to get civics, more civics information and instruction to our students. That's a great thing. You done?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Richard.
And especially my younger son needs that civics education. The only report I have is, I believe a majority of the council was at, not last weekend, but the weekend before, the mayor's ball to help combat homelessness. And it was a great turnout. I hope we can keep supporting it in the future, because that's something that's an issue not only in the county, but even here in Royal Palm Beach. Thank you.
That's good. Hope the money goes, all of it goes towards that. Yeah. Selena.
Good evening. Actually, I'd like to ask Councilwoman Rodusky to talk about from what the Cultural Council did with Senator Berman, if you don't mind. real quick.
Sure. So the Cultural Council, we tapped a local artist named Ralph Papa and connected him with Senator Lori Berman, who wanted his art in her office. And so we arranged for the installation of about 9 pieces of art.
Wow.
As a result, we had a little reception about 4 o'clock yesterday, and all the Palm Beach County folks came by. It was very nice. They got to see the artist. They got to see the art on the wall. But then the interesting thing was all the senators from around the state who came to see the art as well. And oh, by the way, they're now calling their local arts agencies to get art into their offices.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I thought that was pretty. I thought that was pretty good on our part for, advocating for art and getting more art in the Capitol, and not on an art and culture day. So
That's how things work. They don't want to be left behind. Good.
So that'll just, that's just the entree into talking about how we get art into the cultural center and that conversation.
So it was really neat, though, just to see him and meet the artist, and the response from it was really great. And I would also like to thank Ron Book and his office for hand-holding that we needed and everything, and also thanking Senator Powell and Representative Will Hite for all the work that they've done and really advocating for us. So it was well known that they really do fight for what we ask for. Also, we went to the House Committee of the Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee. So a couple things that they had talked about were ATVs and just how they're evolving and how they're advocating for wider beds and heavier vehicles for less tipping over and accidents and things like that. So just how they're working on changing the industry itself and the manufacturing of them. They talked about railroad accidents and how they can not only educate, but making sure that they do a full investigation and just how that process is changing. They also talked about micro-mobility, which are any unit that can go under 25 miles an hour. And what they were talking about using those are last mile, first mile resources as well. So it's not just bicycles, but scooters and segways and things like that. And then how do they involve them in using public land as far as sidewalks, using for storage, and then making sure that they're safely stored during hurricane season and things like that. So just watching out for stuff like that. And then they did talk about autonomous vehicles. So they had a representative from Uber there, which I think our village manager is speaking with, and they were talking about, I spoke with him regarding our funding for our senior transportation. So he had said that there was a component that they added to their database so that we can now go in and add residents and keep track of that as far as when they call and things like that. So he said that was the component that they were missing, that now they're working on the software program for that so that it'll help push that along. So I'll make sure that you get that information. I believe you have his. It's
Are they saying that we'll have access to their database?
So no, what we'll be able to do is have our database where we can input residents' information as far as knowing, yes, this is a person who's over 65 that lives in Royal Palm Beach, and then seeing what calls they've made for transportation so we can track it. So when it comes to the funding side of it, that was the component that they were missing. So they're actually working on that now because they said that.
This was Uber or Lyft?
Uber.
Uber.
Yep. Yeah, so we're back with that because I pulled him aside just to ask him that specifically with it. The other thing that I had the opportunity to meet with Senator Lauren Book, who represents Dade County, but she's the chair for Children, Families, and Elder Affairs. And what's really nice is even though she's in Dade County, we talked about our elder population and things like that we can do for our seniors. So working with her and making sure that we have some options in there as well. And then I did ask regarding the PACE program, which is the environmental improvements for septic tanks and water and things like that. So Ron Book told us that they don't expect an expansion in the next 2 years of what it covers. One thing that they should include are seawalls and generators and things like that they don't include right now. And he did talk about the septic to sewer changeover and then the water bill to residents and things like that. So that's all stuff they're considering as they work on it in the future as to go for that. That's my report.
Okay, so it sounds like it was a pretty active
Really nice.
visit for you guys, all right?
No report, Mayor, thank you.
Okay.
No report, thank you.
Okay. That completes reports for the evening. At this time, though, if anyone has a petition they'd like to present to the council, now would be the time to do that. No petitions tonight? Okay. I'll close public providing petitions. Now we'll take statements from the public on non-agenda items or consent agenda items. So for now, I'm going to focus on non-agenda items because I do have comment cards on non-agenda items, starting with former Councilman David Smith.
Kind of got a show and tell. David Swift, 240 Ponce de Leon in Royal Palm Beach. Well, they have 3 copies, but if you could share and you send these guys down there too. Okay. I'm sorry that Lou, my good friend Lou, is not here at the meeting because most of it is in his bailiwick. But I wanted to address several issues at the Royal Palm Beach Commons dog park. I visited the dog park twice this week and was shocked how the facility seems run down and overcrowded during peak hours. I don't take my dog there anymore just because there's so many people there. The second thing, in particular, what I want to talk about, this past year, RecSF has added a bed of stones along the fence that's divided the medium-sized dog park from the small dog park. And pictures 1 and 2 that I sent you is that fence, and you can see the stones there. Those are the stones. I asked why this was done, and park users told me that someone had complained that a number of dogs ran up and down the fence line barking at each other, and this made them more aggressive when interacting with other dogs in the park. So to solve this problem, staff put down the stones to restrict all the dogs in the park from running up and down the fence. I guess I don't understand that logic at all. Every dog park I've ever visited, I have observed dogs running along the fence, barking at each other. That's what they do. That's how they get exercise. So I'm really confused of why they did that. If they were indeed more aggressive after running the fence, the owners should have removed them for the park. Instead, we now expose all the dogs in the park to potential foot and pad injuries, and you can see the stones there. You wouldn't want to walk on them yourselves. In addition, around the pavilion, a number of dogs, and this is the owners, they dig holes, and the owners don't fill in the holes. Now, I don't know who's putting stones in a hole, but figure number 3 shows what it looks like. There's all kinds of these stones around there, and there ought to be like some fill and a shovel, and at least some dedicated citizens might fill them in. So I see that as
like on a golf course with the
or something simple like that. They're not big, but anyways, the so-called fixes to the park to me, don't seem very logical or safe for the dogs themselves. I'd like to make a couple suggestions. With only one meeting per month, and I don't expect you guys are going to reduce your salaries, council now have all kinds of free time to on their hands. And I would recommend that they consider advertising a special meeting to discuss the needs and special problems residents have with our dog parks all throughout the village, because they're many and varied. Sorry, that's all. I have some other things to say, but if I just could summarize, in Wellington, I used to use the small dog park there. There were 4 women there who were there in the morning, in the afternoon. And they took the rules that the Village of Wellington provided, and they enforced the rules. They didn't have any authority to enforce the rules, but they did. And they did a great job. I would like to suggest that you consider looking at we have a number of responsible people who would work with the village to inform people what the rules are and try to get everybody on the same track, because they are not at that park. People are 360 degrees apart. So that's what I came to say tonight, and I think some of people would like to speak to this. Yeah. And I guess I have to come back next month to hear from Lou, right?
No, actually, may I?
You want to comment?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I actually addressed this with Lou and Mike earlier this week, and I sent over to both of them some information. And Mike responded with, we met with our staff at the dog park, and the issue will be corrected. So that is something that...
Which issue are we talking about?
The dog
The
park,
stone?
the stones, and the refilling of the divots and things like that. So, and that was on Tuesday.
We're going to put something out there that if somebody wants to refill the hole that their dog created?
He didn't go into specifics with that. He said they will address
Okay.
the issue in there.
We're not going to use the stone to fill holes. That's not
All right, so
acceptable.
we're going to correct it.
Yes.
All right, thanks for bringing it to our attention. I'm glad that,
It came to our attention.
Somebody
through-
mentioned,
It did come to our attention through the internet, and
Yeah.
we've been talking about it the last couple weeks.
it was brought to my attention by some of the folks at Younger Hearts as well. So it was on my list of things that I wanted to go over with you. But, okay, good. Thanks for letting us know. As you hear, we will address it. I'm not even going to respond to that. Come on.
You know, deputize him.
Okay, Amy Harvey, come on down. You want to talk about the dog park too? Yes. Come on. Don't worry about it. You're fine.
Amy Harvey, 509 Lakeview Drive East. I use the small dog park at Commons 365 days a year. Rain or shine, doesn't matter.
Rain or shine?
Yes.
Okay.
The dog likes the rain. And I have constantly been updating through the Let Us Know section on your website when there are problems. I've met with Lou Recchio, I've met with Armando, and they explained to me that the rocks are going to be there along the fence line because dogs shouldn't be running. And if they cause another path in the dirt, he'll just put concrete there instead. But the rocks, I've had dogs in our small dog park have cuts in the pads. One tore a ligament in her leg
Because of the
because of
rocks?
the rocks, running on the rocks. And the dogs, some of the dogs pick up the dog stones and start to eat them. They're dogs, not humans.
Okay.
We do tend to monitor the small dog park. In the afternoon, I can tell you, we nag everybody to pick up. I have a spade that I carry in my bag to fill in the holes if my dog digs. I got attacked on Facebook for criticizing the maintenance at the park. Yes, I did bring up the parking lot and that I could lose an ovary driving through it, and I see that's been fixed. They didn't remove the rocks this week. They added sand on top of the rocks by the pavilion. When we get a good rain, the sand is going to sink and the rocks will be back there.
Sure.
And it is a health issue in terms of the dogs, plus it looks ugly as hell. And I love going to the dog park. My dog waits from 2 o'clock on every day to go to the park. And they meet all their friends there, and I'd like it to be in good shape. I'm tired of always having to call the Parks Department to complain about it. I would rather say good job.
Okay.
You did great. See?
Thank you.
Listen, thanks for your persistence. We appreciate that. And thanks for coming tonight, letting us know.
Thank you. I have no picture, so right here.
You could turn it in. And village manager is noted that he will be addressing these issues. So, okay. Barbara Vieira? So put you down as you support everything that was said concerning your concerns with dog park. Okay. Be nice. Okay, thank you. Louis Valendarat? Did I pronounce that right?
Louis Valderrama with Anatom Construction, address 490 Business Parkway, Royal Palm Beach, Florida. Good evening, everyone. The purpose of me coming here is to make a statement in regards to the Cultural Center. We are the general contractor that is wrapping up this project. We understand that the village has received a letter from us, and we just wanted to make a statement and say that since that letter, we have talked to the village engineer, and we have a meeting planned for next week to go ahead and wrap everything up very soon here. And we remain committed to making sure that everything gets done as quickly as possible and getting everything done as needed. That's pretty much a statement that I needed to make.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. No comments? Okay. All right, I have no further comment cards on items not on the agenda, but if anyone here would still like to comment on a non-agenda item, now would be the time. Seeing none, then I'm closing public comment on non-agenda items. I also have no comment cards on items on the consent agenda, but if anyone here would like to comment on items on the consent agenda, now would be the time. All right, seeing none, I'm closing public comment then on consent agenda items as well. And with that, okay, with that, can we have the
Yes, Mayor,
Diane give us
thank
the
you.
consent agenda?
Number one, approval of the minutes of the council regular meeting of February 21st, 2019. Two, approval and authorization for the village manager to execute an addendum to extend structural engineering services provided by Alan Gerwig and Associates for 2 years. Three, approval of a special event permit for the village of Royal Palm Beach to hold a bike trail and safety rodeo at Royal Palm Beach Commons on Saturday, March 9th, 2019, from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. 4, approval of a special event permit for Royal Palm Brewing Company, LLC, to hold a 1-year anniversary celebration at 543 North State Road 7, Suite 103, on Saturday, March 9th, 2019, from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. 5, approval of 6 special event permits for Our Lady Queen of the Apostles Catholic Church to hold a fish fry at 100 Crestwood Boulevard on March 8th, March 15th, March 22nd, March 29th, April 5th, and April 12th, 2019, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. 6, adoption of resolution number 1907, a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, rescinding and releasing the unity of title for the property located at lots 9, 10, and 11 of the plat of Royal Palm Beach Business Park, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Okay, I do not have any comment cards. As I mentioned earlier, we closed public comment. Any comments from member of council on any consent agenda items? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that the consent agenda was accepted 5-0. All right, moving along to the regular agenda. Agenda item R1 is a public hearing for the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 960, an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for 10 tracts of land totaling approximately 11.20 acres from Palm Beach County's low residential LR2 and the village's open space and single-family land use designations to the village's commercial land use designation located on the south side of Southern Boulevard
approximately 7/10 of a mile west of State Road 7. Bradford, you're on.
Great, thank you, Mayor. These tracts consist of several single-family homes on large tracts and land formerly owned by the Lake Worth Drainage District. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that the ultimate goal is to develop the property for a roadway purpose to provide a secondary egress point for the area to State Road 7. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment from Palm Beach County's low residential and the village's open space and single-family land use designations. Lost my place here. It's consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with the adjacent future land uses, and meets all relevant concurrency level of service standards. Finally, the proposed land use amendment package is consistent with the requirements of Chapter 163 of Florida statute concerning the requirements for the processing of future land use amendments. The village did receive comments from the Florida Department of Transportation, which we sent them a letter in response to their concerns. It seemed to satisfy their comments. The local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. The village council considered ordinance 925 on first reading on August 16, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. And staff is recommending approval of application 1709 and ordinance 960. And with that being said, Mayor, I'll turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, would the applicant like to make any comments? No? You feel that the presentation represented the application appropriately? Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that our team is here, as you can see, and we'd be happy to answer any questions if they come up, but we feel that we were here obviously for first reading, and Bradford does a great job going over all the technical details, so we're happy with his presentation.
Okay. I do not have any comment cards from the public on agenda item R1, but if anyone would like to comment from the public, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R1 and look for comments from members on council. I don't have any lights. No lights? Okay. There are no comments, then I'll look for a motion.
I do need to read the ordinance title.
Now,
Thank you.
okay, go ahead.
Thank you. This is ordinance number 960, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in section 163.3184 at SAC Florida statutes pursuant to a privately initiated application number 17-0009 LSCPA, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 11.200 plus or minus acres, more or less, of real property as commercial, which property is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, informally known as Southern Boulevard Properties, Erica Boulevard. Further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Thank you.
Okay. No further comments from council. I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance number 960.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R1 was approved 5-0 for second reading.
Yes.
Agenda item R2 is also a public hearing and second reading and adoption of ordinance number 973. This is an application by Urban Design Kildare Studios. The applicant is seeking change of land use designation from 8 tracts of land totaling approximately 31.84 acres from Palm Beach County's LR2 low residential land use designation and the village's open space land use designation to the village's commercial land use designation. Located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 7/10 of a mile west of State Road 7. Bradford.
Great, thank you, Mayor. This site has several single-family homes on large tracts as the one before. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that the ultimate goal is to develop the property for commercial uses. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with adjacent future land uses, and meets all relevant concurrency level of service standards. Finally, the proposed land use amendment package is consistent with requirements of Chapter 163 of Florida statutes concerning the requirements for processing of future land use amendments. The village did receive, as stated before, comments from the Florida Department of Transportation, which we addressed their comments in a letter. And the local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. The Village Council considered this ordinance on first reading on August 16, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. And staff is recommending approval of this application. I'll turn the floor over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Once again, no comments from the applicant? Okay. You do not have any comment cards on agenda item R2, but if anyone would like to comment on this item, now would be the time. Seeing none, then I'm going to close public comment on agenda item R2, open for comments from members on council. I see no lights. So I'll look for a motion.
Can I read the ordinance title?
After you read the
Thank
title.
you.
After you read the title, I'll look for the motion.
This is ordinance number 973, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandate set forth in section 163.3184 et sec Florida statutes, pursuant to a privately initiated application number 17-0046 LSCPA, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 31.846 plus or minus acres more or less of real property as commercial, which property is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, informally known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 6. Further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Thank you.
Okay. Now,
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 2.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R2 was approved for its second reading, 5-0. Agenda item R3 is also a public hearing and a second reading and adoption of ordinance number 934, an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for a parcel of land totaling approximately 23.95 acres from Palm Beach County's LR2 low residential land use designation and the village's commercial land use designation to the village's multifamily high-density residential land use designation located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7.
Thank you again, Mayor. These tracts also consist of several single-family homes on large tracts. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that their intent is to develop the property for 318 multifamily dwelling units. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with adjacent land uses, and meets all relevant concurrency level standards. Finally, the proposed land use amendment package is consistent with the requirements of Chapter 163 of Florida statutes. Again, the village did receive comments on this application from the Florida Department of Transportation, and we addressed those comments, and they seem to be satisfied. The local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. And the Village Council considered this ordinance on first reading on August 16, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. And staff is recommending approval of ordinance 934. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bert. Any comments from the applicant? No? Comments from the applicant? No? Okay, just want to make sure, I give you a chance. I have no comment cards for members of the public, but if anyone would like to comment on agenda item R3, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R3, open for comment from members on council. If there are no comments, we'll read by title.
Thank you. Ordinance number 934, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandate set forth in section 163.3184 et sec Florida statutes, pursuant to a privately initiated application number 17-0047 LSCPA, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 23.952 plus or minus acres more or less of real property as MFH Multifamily High, which property is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, informally known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 3. Further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Thank you.
Okay. No comments from council. I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve regular agenda item number 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R3 was approved for its second reading, 5-0. Okay, agenda item R4 is also a public hearing and its second reading and adoption of ordinance number 971. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for a parcel of land totaling approximately 29.36 acres from the village's single-family land use designation to the village's multifamily high-density residential use designation located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Like the other applications, this site has several single-family homes on large lots. The applicant has indicated that their intent is to develop the property for 401 multifamily units. Overall, the proposed future land use map amendment is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with adjacent future land uses, and meets all concurrency level of service standards, and meets the requirements of Chapter 163 for processing future land use amendments. And we did receive comments from the Florida Department of Transportation on this application, and we addressed those comments. And the local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. Village Council considered this ordinance on 925 on first read on August 16, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 4-1. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance 971, and I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Bradford. I have to keep asking you this because I have to put it on the record that you were given the opportunity to make comment, that you weren't just bypassed. So it's just a process, okay? So you don't want to comment, right? No. Okay. I don't have any comment cards for members of the public on agenda item R4, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment on agenda item R4, and I think we have comments from...
Yep. Actually, and I would like to say is that I was the one that opposed it, and my thought process was that it would be medium density versus going from single family to high density, and I still feel the same way. So that's just the reason why. And
that's it? Yeah. Okay. Read by title.
This is ordinance number 971, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in section 163.3184 et sec Florida statutes, pursuant to a privately initiated application number 17-0048 LSCPA, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 29.4 plus or minus acres more or less of real property as MFH multifamily high, which property is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, informally known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 2, further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and further purposes. Thank you.
Okay. There are no further comments from members on council. I'll look for a motion.
I'll move to approve regular agenda item number 4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
nay.
Okay. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R4 was approved for a second reading by a vote of 4-1, with Councilwoman Samios declining. Okay? Okay. All right, we'll move down to agenda item R5, which is also a public hearing for second reading and adoption for ordinance number 954, an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for 7 tracts of land totaling approximately 10.17 acres from Palm Beach County's LR2 low residential land use designation to the village's commercial land use designation, located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.7 of a mile west of State Road 7.
Great, thank you, Mayor. This site also is comprised of single-family homes on large lots, and the applicant has indicated in their justification statement the ultimate goal is to develop the property as a charter school. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with the adjacent future land uses, and meets all relevant concurrency level of service standards, and is consistent with Chapter 163 of Florida statutes concerning the requirements of processing of future land use amendments. And again, we received comments from the Florida Department of Transportation, and we responded to them, and they're satisfied. The local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. Village Council considered ordinance 945 on first reading on August 16, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. And staff is recommending approval of this application. I'll turn the floor over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The applicant does not choose to comment, right? Okay. I have no comment cards from the public on agenda item R3, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I will close public comment on agenda item R3 and take comments from member on council. There are no comments. Read by title.
Thank you. This is ordinance number 954, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandate set forth in section 163.3184 et sec Florida statutes, pursuant to a privately initiated application number 18-0017 SCPA, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 10.174 plus or minus acres, more or less, of real property as COM commercial, which property is located on the west side of 106th Avenue South, with portions of the north and south sides of Acme Road, and formerly known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 7. Further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Thank you.
Okay. There are no comments from members on council. Look for a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance number 954.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. All right, Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R5 was approved for its second reading, 5-0. And agenda item R6 is a public hearing for a second reading and adoption of ordinance number 974, amending the village's comprehensive development plan in order to modify the future land use map series by adding a future land use map 5 through 10-year planning horizon as required by section 163-3177 Florida statutes. Ray, I guess this is the closing act because of these other items were approved. So now we have to close it out with this.
No,
Okay.
This item is required by state statute. When we did the the appraisal of our comprehensive plan, one of the comments that DEO had is that we needed a land use map with a 5 to 10 year planning horizon. And that's what this is. And I don't have anything to add to your presentation, Mayor. Only just to say that the local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018, recommended approval, and council voted to approve on first reading on August 16, 2018. Of course, we're recommending approval. Thank you.
Okay. And the applicant does not have to say anything on this.
No. We're the applicant on this one.
We are.
I do not have any comment cards on agenda item R6, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, you have to.
I do, yes. Sorry. Last one. Ordinance number 974, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in sections 163.3177 and 163.318 Florida statutes in order to modify the future land use map series by adding a future land use map 5 to 10 year planning horizon, providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Okay, public comment had been closed on agenda item R6. With that, I'll look for a motion, unless there are comments from members on council. None? Motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R6 was approved for its second reading by 5-0. That concludes our agenda for this evening. I just want to say thank you to everyone on council and to the applicants and the work that was done to get this on the agenda in time. Hopefully everything goes well. I also want to say that, just to put in context, all of these items that were approved this evening has met all of the requirements that they had to meet. In fact, they came in under some the total on some of these requirements. and there were no variances requested, no special waivers that had to be made. So what I call that is, this is a project that's playing by the rules and adopting the rules and ordinances of this village, and recognizing that, and thank you for doing that. Hopefully it'll make it a better project in the long term. So with that, we have no further business before the council this evening. We stand adjourned.